This podcast is in no way affiliated with the Stars production or Diana Gabaldon. All views expressed are solely our own. Welcome to the Outlander podcast,
where the men are kilted, the women are winsome,
and the whiskey is neat. Welcome to episode 442 of the Outlander podcast. I'm Ginger.
And I'm Summer, and we are in love with all things Outlander.
This episode, we'd like to thank co-producer
This week, we will be discussing episode 710, which I believe is called Brotherly Love.
Another cold open. Ian Murray Sr. is playing swords with young Jamie and young Ian Sr. Took me a minute to figure out how to write that. Jamie is right-handed in the show.
Ian the second, and then
Junior?
his son should have been, Junior should have been second, and then he should have been Ian the third.
For 7 seasons, we've already called Ian Sr. So now to ultimately, suddenly see his dad, I'm not changing the name of the person I've called Ian Sr. for 7 seasons. So it's Ian Sr.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I'm just saying.
Is there an Ian pre-senior?
Maybe.
Or would you call him Ian? Oh, shit. I can't go. Senior, junior, sophomore, freshman. You can't say junior because that would be his son. So no, I'm not going back.
The for Ian.
The what?
The for Ian.
Oh.
The Ian for Ian.
The German for?
Sure.
VOR. Jamie is right-handed in the show. That's a whole other discussion, which we don't need to get into. It's already been had. And so this scene, similar, I think, in the books, although it may not have been the exact same scene, but a similar scene, is the genesis of young Ian Murray Sr. always standing at Jamie's left, or in the book right, side, his weaker side. Then we see the two grown gents. Ian Sr. is still able to somewhat get oot in a boot. It's a touching scene, though, and beautiful. Jamie jokes that in paradise, Ian will get his leg back. And they've been true brothers ever since young Willie, meaning Jamie's brother, not his son, died.
I mean, technically they were brothers-in-law. I think Jenny kind of made them real brothers.
Yeah, but Willie died way before Ian and Jenny got married. That's what I'm saying. Lallybrocha. Don't know what that was. Jamie, later on, nowadays in the show, Jamie brings Ian Sr. to his bed. That was a quick little be outside, talk and joke, and then boom, you're dead. I was like, damn.
I will say that this whole episode felt very rushed.
Boom, you're damn.
No, everything was
girl.
The race to resolve.
The whole season has been rushed.
To resolve.
The whole season has been rushed, and I agree with you. Jamie brings Ian Sr. to his bed as he's finally succumbing to his illness. Jenny is there with him. Now this scene, again, I'm not saying it ain't sad. I got a little tear prickish. It's sad. But this scene destroyed me in the book because you had all the kids went up one by one, got to say a final goodbye, and then you had Jenny, and then you had Jamie, then you had Jenny. Anyway,
the farewell tour.
Yes, that's good. Yes, it's sad here, but having him see his kids, etc., in the book broke me as a reader. I was like, oh my God. Still, it's very, very touching in the show. They did well with the storyline given as little time that they were going to give it, as you said, Rush. And I don't know if this is true in the book. It's possible. This is not my hill. I'm just saying, because I don't know. In the show, though, Ian's last word on Earth is Jenny.
Yeah, he kind of honored them both in the last moment. Because at first he said, what did he say? On your right or on your left or whatever he said.
On your left.
To Jamie. And then it was like, Jamie looked at Jenny and I was like, oh, that's better not be the last thing he says. And if he did, sorry, Jenny. And then he was like, Jenny. And I was like, okay, no, we're good.
He made up real quick.
Yeah. He's like, oh.
That would have been funny.
Fuck.
I'm glad. Okay. I'm not going backwards. I'm glad in this scene, production didn't accidentally put Jamie on the other side and have him say on your left. It's like, no, bitch, you're actually on his right this time. Okay. And then talk about rush. Damn. The next scene is Jamie digging his grave. I was like, fudge. You don't wait, do you? I mean, I get it. It's a body. They don't have embalming, but wow. Jenny, lazy bitch, sits there looking on, watching him dig.
Do you know how much harder it would be to launder
To
her
let-
clothing than his?
Oh, sure. And also,
Like just the layers
Well,
and everything.
and she was like, this should be Michael. This should be who? And he's
Well,
like,
that-
I don't know.
and
And he
they're
said,
gonna-
let me do it.
And they're going to finish this and then she's going to go make dinner for everybody? No, there's absolutely no way she needs to bury a man and
Or dig a hole.
and do the rest. Like,
Yeah.
give her. She just lost her. And she just lost her husband. It makes sense. She shouldn't have to be digging it, and she doesn't want him to
course.
have to dig it either. But he's like,
But he's
I'm
like,
doing this
no,
for my
this is
brother.
my thing. Jamie, I think he tells a lot of, not story, but storyline, I guess, as he's digging. So Jamie is going to go with Joan to her convent, or drop her off at the convent on the way. Yeah. Now, again, it doesn't matter because they're not doing the Joni and Michael show, extended novella
Don't
show.
worry. This is the last time you see Jamie in the entire episode.
That's okay.
I'm
just saying they're not. Did we just do that? Did we just both say I'm just saying at the same time?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
So in the book, and it doesn't matter. Again, we / I guess mostly I point out purposely. This is not to make a complaint, but I do purposefully like to point out the differences between the book and the show when it's. And this is not even about opinion. Like, oh, they should have done this or shouldn't have done. No, this is not about that. This is just saying, oh, okay. We go through and talk about what happened in the show, and then where it's drastically different, or if it's titillating and kind of different, I'll bring it up too. I just like to point out the differences if it comes to me. I do not go research this. If I remember, I can bring it up. I'll mention it. So here, what they're doing, and that's fine because we didn't really get anything of this in the big books anyway. This is it's interesting. This is in a, yeah. So in the big books, in Moby, Jamie, well, okay, I can't say it quite yet. It'll have to come later. Oh, no, it's coming up. In the books, Jamie, after Ian is buried, Jamie, maybe at the same time, in a conversation, Jamie offers to take Jenny with him.
Yeah.
And Jenny's like, no, or in the book, Jenny's like, yeah, because they've already, who's the new Laird? It was not Ian, right? They were there as a place of honor because Jenny was
It's young Jamie's.
Yes,
Remember he wrote
young Jamie is the Laird.
He wrote in the deed
quick deed or quick claim or whatever that was. So so the house, Lallybroch, the entire Schmidt-Schmittation is young Jamie's. And so it's not a bad choice. It was just an interesting choice, but whatever. So in the book, Jamie goes, "Do you want to come with me?" Because and maybe Jenny makes this statement first, but Jenny basically says, "There's no place for me here now. My young ones," meaning like her kids down through Ian, all my kids are grown, and the young babies, they have all this family. Like, this was my place, but my anchor, my rock is gone.
They're just leaving it open in the show.
Well, we don't know yet. We'll have to see what happens in the next episode. We don't know. But yeah, she didn't say over my dead body. She goes, maybe one day. So anyway, in the books, she says, I literally have no place here now. I may as well go with you. And he's like,
to be fair,
okay.
he just died.
Yeah.
She needs a hot minute to like readjust.
Yeah,
so
because they're
she could have had that conversation with him at the grave where he's digging it, and then like the next night over dinner be like, you know what,
Take me
I thought
with
about
you.
it, and there's nothing for me to do, and I'm going to be bored.
The reason I don't think they're doing that in the show, at least at this point, is because in the letter he wrote to Claire, he mentioned taking Joan to the convent, but not the fact that he had his sister with him. So I don't think they're taking Jenny away.
Well, unless it was meant to be a surprise.
I don't know.
To everyone.
Any hoozle.
I mean, it would be a double surprise since, he was lost at sea at the end.
Oh, it would totally be. So, any hoozle, Jamie is going to, says right here.
And if she had gone with them and been on the boat, and she knew about it ahead of time, that would have been 2 people she knew that died on a boat.
Two?
Which would have... 2.
I saw this. Okay.
2 people.
You did it again.
And I'm not counting that one. It's just holding it there.
Okay.
2 people that she knows and cares about on a boat dead together. So that would have been even worse.
Yeah.
So this way, if she does come, she didn't have to mourn both her sister-in-law and her husband. At the same time, she can give Jamie's death the due it deserves. Because think about how many flashbacks they would have had to show if it had been
too
both
many.
of them.
Too many.
It would have been...
They don't have the budget for that.
It would have been the whole
They're
second half
rushing
of the
through.
show.
So Jamie is going to take Joan with him or going with Joan to drop her off at the convent. I think in the show they say in Paris. It's not Michael as in the books. And then he'll go on to Philly from there. They do say in the letter later on that he's going from Brest. So I don't think Brest is in France. It could be.
I think it is.
It could be. I don't know. Yes. But you don't pronounce that in French. The ist. The S. He offers Jenny to come with him to America. And then she goes, she says, no, I have too much. I have too much that needs me here. My grandkids.
Brest is a city in France.
Okay. It is in France. So I'm curious, my notes taken before Summer and I have chatted, my notes with regard to Jenny going to the colonies or not was, I said, I'm curious if they decided not to do this storyline in the show because at the time of writing, they didn't yet know that they'd get season 8. The whole reason they shoved Moby or whatever they were going to include of Moby into 7B is because season 8 wasn't greenlit yet. And so at least that was one of the main reasons. Maybe they didn't know it was greenlit yet. And it doesn't upset me. It disappoints me. But like Summer said, maybe, who knows? Who knows where they're going to show up in the next episode or two. But at this point, without knowing the future, I view it as a loss. And guess what? Yes, I know a lot of it was us, mainly me, talking. But only now do we get the opening. It was long. It was like 7 minutes of cold open, my girl.
Well, they had to get it done.
I mean,
well, because he doesn't come back in the episode.
Oh,
so
true.
They're doing all the Jamie stuff before the credits.
I didn't think makes him seem even more gone. So that's very effective. Oh, hello. That's a good choice. Okay. The title card was the Liberty Bell. No?
Yes.
The filler. Written by Luke Schellhaus. Okay. In Philadelphia. Claire and young Ian are sitting in a carriage chatting about what they think Ian Sr. when they think Ian Sr. may have bitten it. Then on to where
Well, because it comes up because they're like, I wonder if this dude we just spent 6 weeks on a ship for is even still alive.
5 weeks. They got there quickly.
Or whatever. The point is, it was not 8, so it was quicker than whatever. But
yes.
So the whole point of the conversation, I believe, started with, do you think this dude
he's dead?
Yeah. And they're like, people have a way of staying till their birthdays. And he was like, when was his birthday?
We don't know what month this was. Or did he say what?
No, but he did say his birthday
was around Jamie's.
Yeah. Whatever. I don't remember.
But I'm saying I'm saying the show didn't tell us what date they were in the carriage on right then having that discussion.
No, they also didn't show us what date it was when he kicked the bucket in the bed.
Yeah. All of that. Yeah. Then they go on to the topic of where to find Rachel and get things moving between him and Rachel. Claire sees others.
Come on, he just wants his dog.
His dog or his dog or his hole.
Ew, Ginger.
What?
I'm talking about his dog.
Oh, he wants both. Claire sees others. They're sitting in that carriage kind of at a checkpoint, I guess. And so they've got breeze to shoot and people to see. I mean, things to see through the window. And Claire sees that others are being searched. And she's like, oh, and this is like, I forgot that this is like still a heavily, what do you call it when they're a city that's being
blockaded.
No, it's when the other forces come and stay there. Started with an I think. I can't think of the word.
Stop talking for a moment. I'm going through my Rolodex in my head of words. They've taken
that word. It's like what the Romans did. It's Jerusalem. When Jesus was alive, the Romans were doing what to Jerusalem? Not invade. They may have invaded it, but then they stayed there. What is that called? I want to say incarcerated, but that's not the word.
It is. They are in control of the city. That's all we need. I will think of
They're stationed there. They're in control. They own the city. Yes, you look it up because
occupied.
Okay,
Occupation.
it wasn't on an I. It was a vowel. Though.
It was a vowel. Occupation.
Occupied. She's like, oh, that's right. This is like heavily occupied. She takes her back to. I mean, we don't know how much or whatever she got around during World War II. She was probably like stationed at those medical camps or whatever. But she knows about occupation. She's like been there, done that. So she's like, oh, that's right. It's hecka occupied. So they look outside the windows and see all these things, and she's like, she sees people being searched and their papers being asked for.
What happens when the city's occupied? And I think you need to say it like 4 more times
I never forget it
link
again.
it in your brain.
To lick it?
Link it.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God.
So someone comes up to them and Ian gives over his papers. And the guy's like, oh, you even have like a...
Oh, this is from General
Burgoyne,
Burgoyne.
like you think you're hella special or something, and he's like, fine, and gives
You're
it back.
solid gold, bro.
And he totally not slams, but shuts the door in Clam's face.
Well, because she holds her papers
Did you hear
up.
what I said? Shuts the door in Clam's face. Claire's face.
She used to be a chaos monster, but now she's a clam.
A clam. And Claire's like, they're starting to sow the seeds of, well, not sow the seeds, plant the seeds of
another Rush storyline, but yes.
Oh yeah. And Claire realizes, women aren't even being looked at. Like ladies are walking straight through the checkpoint. No one gives a ratushkas.
You can just call this exposition, because it's between this and Jamie's whole conversation at the grave was just exposition.
Claire arrives. Okay, there are two locations. There's the place. I think it's Chestnut Street. I'm probably wrong. Chestnut Street in the book. Chestnut Street is where Lord John encamps, where he's rented a house. Mrs.
Woodcock.
Mercy Woodcock owns her own house.
Correct.
2 different houses.
Yes.
I believe. Oh, I know. I wrote Chestnut Street, but she arrives where Mrs. Woodcock is, so that's not Chestnut Street. So whatever my notes say, like ignore it, because I can't keep the 2 straight.
You need to talk to yourself about that, because I don't see your notes.
I'm telling you and the listener. So if I get this wrong, I don't want to hear about it, because I know now. I know they're separate, but I know at least one time, like right here, Claire arrives at Chestnut Street and meets Mrs. Woodcock. That is false. She arrives at Woodcock's house. Okay. That's where Lord John is stationed, living. That's false. He lives on Chestnut Street.
Correct. And he says it because she says, I don't know where Lord John is when she gets there. And he goes, he's right here, not being far away from his nephew or whatever. So he may also be currently staying with Mrs. Woodcock until
Henry,
until that's been taken care of. Whatever.
Hal's the brother. We don't ever, no, we do see Hal, and Hal's the one who we see in Voyager in the scenes back when they like kick Jamie out from being killed. Like they send him on a boat / not a boat.
He's the one who saves his life.
A chicken wagon on the way back to Lallybroch. That's Hal. I don't know how much we see Hal other than that. What are you looking at me like that for?
Chicken wagon.
A wagon with chickens on it. They throw him on there. Look, if he dies, at least like our family honor is saved.
Right.
So when I say we're never going to see Hal, we have seen him once. I don't know what they're going to do, because they boffed a lot.
Depends on if we bring
a lot of stuff.
If we bring Dottie and a bunch of other people into play.
You think they have time for Dottie?
No, I don't. I'm just saying that's mostly where we see Hal again.
Anyone listening, God bless you. If anyone listening to this and has read the books thinks there's a chance in Hades we're going to get Dottie. Now, I'm not saying they'll never mention Dottie. They may even have a character named Dottie. But all the stuff we can't go back in time and have those shenanigans between Lord John and Dottie in London. We're not going back. We're full speed ahead now. Like Jamie's dead. Dottie's already there. So yeah, it ain't happening. We're not getting Dottie. We may get to see her, but Dottie and Denzel at this point, absolutely not. So probably no double wedding. That's unfortunate. Okay, that's really far ahead. So Claire arrives at Mrs. Woodcock's house. This is where Lord John's nephew has been staying, who needs surgery. The 2, Lord John and Claire, reunite here.
Yes,
Lord John,
where he immediately starts grunting.
Pretty much. He basically, he does not use this word. I use the word and I have to explain it because I'm not 100% right, but it kind of is. He's like, I am out of my commission now, or I handed over my commission. I am no longer formally commissioned. However, basically wear my uniform out of spite.
Well, not just spite. It's for authority, to remind people of his position.
Yes, that's why I think spite's not quite the right word. But basically he says to intimidate others in order to protect rebels like who are close to him and to Jamie and Claire, like Mrs. Woodcock, which then affects his nephew.
Correct, who was put there as a prisoner of war when it wasn't occupied by the British.
That's this episode. Well, we have long titles that we don't mess
be called
with.
Occupied.
Except that we don't mess with titles that are for the show, but Occupied would be the AKA. And just like in the book, Lord John has purchased all the vitriol in town, Natch.
We have that moment of...
Yes, that's a...
that's Love Actually song, by the way.
If it is. I told you I have reminders for everything. It's time for a muscle relaxant.
No, this show's about to get lit.
I injured my neck or something. We don't know. My head, my neck. We don't have answers. Muscle
her neck,
relaxant. That's
her back.
What'd you say?
My neck, my back, and my crack.
My pussy on the crack?
That's the
Is that what
word.
it is? Oh, I've never heard that.
I don't think you injured your pussy, so I'm not going to sing about that. He shows up and he just starts granjang because he's just like, she's like, well, I got to go and buy all the ether. He's like, well, we're all out of ether in town. Nobody's got it anymore. And she's like, well, dang it. How am I supposed to do that? And he's like, come here. I bought it all.
He's quite presumptuous, I gotta say. But he was right this time. Scotland, 1739. We got a mother-father date.
You know, I've discovered why I don't like Roger's voiceover. It is because
it's sassy as fuck.
no, it's not just that. The problem is it's in the exact same tone that he's speaking at in this scene. And if you're not looking at it, if you turn away a moment, you're like, he wouldn't have said that to Galis. And I'm like, oh, because he didn't.
100%. I thought several times, and I'm watching it going, wait, she's not reacting to what he said. Oh, that was VO.
Yeah, so I'm like, it's tricky to watch it. Well, when it's Roger's VO, it is difficult to be able to tell whether it is the VO or what he's actually saying out loud because it is with the same tone and everything. Whereas with Claire's VO, it's never about what's happening right now. It's always filling in the story to catch up. So I think the way that they're using the voiceover makes it harder to follow.
I agree.
Oh, and I meant to say this last week, but I forgot about it while you were talking, and that happens to me sometimes. I would like to give kudos to the show because they have updated their screen, their still shot, because one of the big trees fell down in Scotland on that the this way tree that was on the back fell down. So because it fell down, it's one of the trees there actually fell down. And if you look at the title card now and the end of before the title card, you can see the root system is updated. However, in the past, when they went back in the 40s, it wasn't. And in the past, when they go back in the 1700s, it wasn't. They kept their shots so tight on Buck and Roger that there was no way of seeing that tree or the roots. So I'm just saying, I thought.
So they were cognizant of not having issues with the 40s.
Correct. But when they go in the 80s, they totally show the tree root system being up in the air.
Being gone.
But when they go back in time, they get the screenshots so tight that you can't see that the tree is uprooted. I noticed that, and then I noticed the new image, and it might have been like that last year because the tree fell down a couple years ago. So I don't know if they updated it prior to this, but let's be honest. We haven't been spending a whole lot of time at Craignadoon for the last few seasons because they've been in the Americas and they've been going to those stones. So anyway, I just wanted to say, stars I noticed. Sony fam, I get it. That was Tall Ships Productions. Well done.
So back in 1739, Scotland, the witchlet Galis tries to doctor Bucklevy. So, and this is just going to not mirror what Summer said about Roger's VO. Sorry, but the Roger VO is spicy. Not spicy as in sexy, like book talk or whatever. Spicy as in my cat is spicy at the vet. He's got a tood. It is not really attractive. And Roger's attractive. But the tood is very couple it with. I don't mind him having an attitude, but when the VO has an attitude and it's something he would actually say in time and did mean in the moment. What?
But I'm just laughing because in the book,
you could have a lot of internal stuff.
Well, you can. Not only that, but also in the book, Buck and Galis have a real creepy flirtation, and because he doesn't tell Buck it's his mom.
They have a flirtation?
Well, it's off the screen. We don't know if they actually did anything. It was off the page.
Well, you know what? Maybe it wasn't Buck.
It was Buck in the book.
No. In the book, it was the other 19th century doctor who definitely did the whole the blue. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But
we don't know if Buck did anything.
But I am saying that Buck and Galis had an inappropriate flirtation, and then Dougal also showed up. So
yes.
Yeah, they do appear to not, unless they throw him back in later, they do appear to not be doing that blue light traveler or Claire having
I have a thing, but I can't say it. I mean, I could say it, but I tried to keep it in line with the sequence of the show, so I'll say it later. But I got a little bit of a letdown. Not pissy, just like, oh, lost opportunity, because I if you know me and you read the books, you know exactly what I'm going to say, but I'll say it later. So, blah, 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 blah. Roger's got a toot, but Roger's VO,
She didn't feel that way about his VO. That was her neck tweaking.
Fuck you.
No, fuck yourself.
That has to come out.
But his VO.
It didn't sound like that.
You'll hear it. You'll hear it back.
Maybe it might go up in 2 weeks. I don't know how long this shit's going to take me to get up now that my fucking neck is fucked.
Fuck.
I'll do a lot of editing. So Roger's VO has a tude. It's positively Rogitudinal. Roger VO says, quote, well, you should. He's your son.
Mm-hmm. You look familiar.
Get over it. LOL. Sorry. And this is me talking to Roger. Roger, pull up your freaking pants, be a big boy, and stop. Have your thoughts. Your thoughts are fine. We don't need to hear them.
Right, but he's in the room with.
But he's not hiding. His face is definitely not hiding it.
No, he's not. But also, he doesn't want to take the I'm just surprised that with all the other changes that he didn't just go out to Buck and be like, brah, that's your mom.
Yes, and it's and this is, I think I say it here. Well, I say it if not here later on. Okay. Roger tells Bucklevy she leaves the room for a moment. Roger tells Bucklevy only a little bit of stuff, right? Her real name is Jillian Edgars. She's a TT. I've met her.
In the 60s, yeah.
She's the witchy bitchy. She kills people. I saw her husband that she killed and fried to go through the stones. Roger's trying to figure out what the heck is going on with their timeline. He's like, how did we get here? All this stuff. So now he's thinking, well, of course he thinks it's Rob Cameron came through. And he tells, sorry, this is just me recapping everything. Rob Cameron, no, Jem says it too, rehashes it to Bucklevy. Rob Cameron wants Jem to take him to the gold 40 years in the future. We are here by mistake. There's no way Jem and Roger have any connection to this time. I don't know that I do, but whatever the heck. And I went, we're here by mistake. And I'm like, no, Roger, my boy, that would be y'all, meaning mostly Roger as y'all. But while they're there, we'll take a look around anyway, just to make sure there's nothing here to do with Jem. Meanwhile, back in Philly. Claire doctors
West
the boy.
Philadelphia, born and raised. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. Claire doctors the boy. Or examines the boy. What?
Claire doctors the boy.
The nephew.
I know.
What's the nephew's name?
I was hearing Claire doctors a boy. Like Claire doctor. I'm like, I couldn't figure out where the punctuation went. I'm like, Claire doctors the boy.
It's a noun. Sorry,
or Claire's doctor is a boy.
No, that would be
I
weird.
was like, I'm so confused.
And she finds out that Denzel has already operated once on this dude. Willie had brought the Denzel to them. Claire and Denzel, next scene, have a medical chat. And she says, you did well, boy, short of opening him up. And he's like, the who?
You're going to open him up?
Yes, watch and learn, boy. Help me build the still to make this vitriol.
She's like, you want to see something really cool?
Yeah.
Help me make some ether.
Willie isn't happy to be a lapdog for Rachel, but also it's maybe kind of a kink of his.
Maybe he does, though.
And then Rollo does what he does. He wanders off or ran off, but a good reason this time. Willie says he, meaning Willie, will stay in the city for just now. Rachel is a conundrum for a Quaker. Okay, respect, because she's like, I love him, but he's a killer and a murderer, all that stuff. Rollo, as I said, had run off, and Rachel thinks it can only be for Ian, and she's not wrong. But then she follows him, but then she loses sight of him, so too bad.
Because he's a dog.
Yeah. In steps our favorite asshole. Old Man River. Oops, wrong musical. It was Old Man Archbug. It actually was Ian. Rachel just didn't try hard enough.
Wasn't there scenes in between this?
All we see right here is Ian welcoming him, and then we go back to Scotland. It pauses right here.
Okay.
But you're right. There's more. Just not between.
Because I'm like, she doesn't do the Archbug thing yet, because there was a conversation between her and Willie saying, let's do X, Y, and Z, and then as soon as that's done, we'll go and look for the dog again.
Mm-hmm. And that hasn't happened, or they haven't done the thing yet.
Okay.
Scotland, 1739 time. Roger fingers Galis. I mean,
no, he doesn't.
Her Galis's Ilwish. Galis is getting all up in his face, touching his chesticles, flirting McGalish, and he's like, oh, I'm married. And so am I, dog. What troubles you, Natch? Roger's VO goes off. This VO thing is killing me. It's killing me. And not
like,
softly.
I get it, But also,
it's now 2 episodes, and we're not even done with this episode.
I know, but
It's been used as like a, what do you call
I
it?
know,
Not
it's a
tactic,
crutch now.
No. It's like a. I think it honestly is. In the beginning, it was used to tell us stuff, which they did as a background.
Now it just feels like
it's comedic only.
Well, not only that, but also we don't need it.
That's what I'm saying. We don't need it. His face says everything.
It's not even that. As show workers, as show watchers, we know
what he's feeling.
No, it's not even that. We know who she is. We know how they're related.
No, you're right.
It's not necessary. And I guess that's all, because I think just his responses alone would have been fine, because again, we have smart viewers, and I hate to try to be like, we're better than we're not better, but I know for a fact
after 7 years, actually 10 years, actually, 10 years of production. Yes, our viewers, not our podcast viewers, the show stars, Outlander viewers are, and this is just, all the viewers, read the book or not, you are smart viewers. You see things. You catch, not that we're the hot to trot at anything. You catch things that we miss. Everybody catches things.
Well, it's the bottom line is everyone knows. Everyone knows Gallus's son. Everyone knows it's Gallus and Dougal's son. Everyone knows all these things. We don't need. It just felt Captain Obvious having his voiceover be saying things that we didn't need him to tell us.
They weren't fill-in, or they weren't explanatory.
They didn't add to the scene. I feel like they were distracted.
So as I said, Roger's VO goes off. He says, not VO, says to Gallus how his son was kidnapped. He tells her his name, and he says it was taken by someone who is supposedly been seen in the area called, or known as, the ferryman. Gallus is all, but you don't believe that. And he's like, but you might be one. He throws out a Robert Cameron, and she acts like she doesn't know him. Now, she may not. But the funny thing is, again, show book, I never put anything past them, because I don't know how much if this is them being clever or them doing something and they're just not thinking that deeply about it. I have no idea. Book readers will know that although there's not a lot of text dedicated to it, I believe they did work together. There's information in there somewhere in Moby that we get a little bit of background that Rob Cameron and Moby did know of. Whether, even if Rob Cameron doesn't say it to their face, they find out from others they talk to as they're doing the research about, the research they did about Gallus was from like book 3. You know what I'm saying? They find out because Rob had been at some archaeological dig somewhere, because he's into the same stuff that Gallus was in, except the magical part. Although maybe too, who knows? All I'm trying to say is there is heavy inclination, if I'm not mistaken, intimation? Maybe not proof, but it is, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much suspected or said in the books that it's never on screen or on the page. But Rob, there's a very high likelihood, for sure, Rob and Gallus in the time before Gallus went back, were in the same circles.
But they ran with the same people?
Interests. Exactly. So I don't know that the show looked that deep into it, because they're sometimes not that deep. And I don't mean that as an insult, because that's like a super niche kind of reader thing.
Right. But the other thing to consider is that, and we experienced this when we were in Inverness.
Oh, yeah.
When the familial seats, the heads of the families are in certain areas, throw a rock, dude. You're going to find somebody named Cameron. You probably find many Rob Camerons. Like when we were in Inverness, we had a car driver named James Fraser. And he was like, oh, yeah, no, there's a lot of us. Because we were like, oh, that's so funny. And they were like, no, there's really just a ton of them. So I'm like,
not a big deal.
Yeah. So I think asking, especially for a clan name in that area, probably they're going to be lucky to find the right person.
So then there's a knock on the door. She goes to answer the door. And Roger, while she goes to answer the door, the scene is now between Roger and Bucklevy. Roger tells Bucklevy that Gallus isn't part of it. At least she either truly isn't, and that's what the show is trying to communicate, or she has a twinkle of a thing.
She's definitely not part of it, because they went back at different times, even if they knew each other in the present.
I don't mean part of the kidnapping. I mean part of Okay, definitely she's not part of the kidnapping. What I'm saying is he's saying, and I think that's what he means. She's not part of the kidnapping. I am not totally convinced, at least by the end of the scene, or end of this episode, that she's definitely not guilty of anything related to the kidnapping.
Correct.
But she might be guilty of, I don't want to say knowing more. Because we don't know, it's going to be a big old question mark. And I'm even happy to give the benefit of the doubt to the show and say they did not mean to imply anything with the whole background history of the circles that Galus and Rob caroused in for who knows how many years ago. Okay, let's say that doesn't even exist in the show, really. I'm just saying the stuff, and it hasn't happened yet, so I can't really say the thing yet. But the stuff that I'm not convinced necessarily by the way Galus is acting or the way the actress
Lotte Verbeek.
Lotte. I'm not convinced by the way Lotte is acting. She's convinced she's Galus. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying I'm not convinced one way or the other necessarily by the way Lotte played it. I think it could be open to us as interpretation art because it doesn't really matter because they're not going in. It doesn't bring us anything necessarily. However, okay, I'll say more a little bit later because it's relevant to something that happens later in the show. Okay, but what is part of this is in walks the reason we have a new Buck Livy actor, because Starz or Outlander production wanted a splashy splash and didn't want to do the work. Anyway, in comes Graham McTavish as Dougal Mackenzie. So, he has to play him. Now, am I happy we have him? Mother freaking yes. Of course.
They could have blackjacked it.
What is that? Hit him over the head?
No, where Blackjack played both Frank and Blackjack.
Oh, yeah. I mean, sure.
They could have CGI'd and split screen it.
Not resident. They were family, but like relative. Yeah, absolutely. You know, many relatives, and they're not even direct. They were like,
yeah,
you're wrecked. Yes, they could have done that. I didn't think about that.
But I also think that
it would have been too much to Graham.
No, it's not just that, but I don't think he has that kind of availability. Like,
and that could be it too.
He's back on
the other show.
Well, there's that, but he's also back in New Zealand almost full time, I believe.
And they are back with the books. Again, not identical to the books, but similar in that they're bringing us back to the ferryman storyline. We found something thing. And that when Dougal says, quote, "I'm told you're looking for a ferryman. I have something that may interest you." Surgery time. It's pretty kind of interesting. Lord John doesn't like blood. Okay, who really does if you're not a doctor or whatever? Claire gives Denzel a surgical orgasm as she introduces him to the wonderful art of surgical anesthesia. Downstairs, Willie wishes he'd get...
It's a gallbladder. Also, if you're not
He's
looking...
seen stuff.
I know, but not alive.
No, that's true. Not alive.
But that's the whole point of the whole scene is like you get to see everything alive. A working system and then, troubleshoot it like that. But he was going off about the gallbladder being like, it's like a jade pear or whatever he said it was. It was weird. Oh, I didn't notice it when I was zoned in and staring at the screen. But that was a really squelchy sounding surgery when you're not paying attention. Like, I'm like, I didn't even notice all those noises they put in.
Downstairs, Willie wishes he'd get any type of O from Rachel. But she's worried about stuff like Ian, etc. Just stuff. Willie whips out his Papa's rosary. And the camera goes to it, and then literally nothing else is ever said about it again in this episode. Then he promises that they'll together look again for Rollo when they have a little more time. And I just realized that they totally are leaving out, this goes back to what Summer said, they're totally leaving out the Dottie storyline. I loved that clever, funny nimwit. I will miss her. The surgery is done because he's going to survivere.
Yeah, it's really convenient that we are given so much intestines that we can stand to lose
a little bit,
at least a little.
Enough for the show.
Yeah.
Mrs. Woodcock goes outside to commiserate with Dr. Claire, who realizes, you did not say this, but she realizes you're knocking boots, or you want to, with Henry or whatever the guy's name is. I don't know I think it's Henry. I could be wrong. Or whatever his name is. Could you confirm, Mrs. Woodcock says, that my legal husband is dead, so I can go on loving my man Henry here without a guilty conscience? Thanks. But no, she did have feelings for him. She is sorry that the last time she and her husband parted, it was in anger. But then she also adds in,
We did that
we
a
also
lot.
fought a lot. So, okay, it's like, oh, I have a little bit of remorse. And I'm not saying she didn't. It doesn't take away remorse. But then but the note she ended on was, it was fucked. Like we were not great together anyway, basically. Go love on your man, Mercy. Rachel and Willie walk out. She to feed the horses, him to be pretty. He's a coward and doesn't share. How does this make sense? He's a coward and doesn't share his. Oh, got it. He's a coward and doesn't share his feelings about Rachel with her.
Of course not.
Toodaloos. He F's off. Rachel goes to actually.
It's to his credit he didn't, because think of how much more awkward
It would be for her.
it would be for them to move on from that.
Oh, yeah.
For her to physically, for him to make her choose Ian in front of him would have made it harder.
Yeah, I get that. Rachel goes to actually feed the horses, and
She was looking for Rolo again.
well, she actually is going to into the stable where the horses are.
Yes.
And she hears something, and she does ask Rolo if he's there, and then again meets Archbug. He basically fills her in on all the tea. He's like, "Don't worry to begin. Don't worry to begin.
Don't worry, I'm just going to kill you.
Don't worry.
But I'm not going to do it right now.
It'll be over soon. But even's even, girl. Back on Chestnut Street or wherever the hell they are. Ian arrives looking for Rachel. Denzel tells him to go to the stables. Back in the stables, Willie has come back, kind of halfway there. Rachel tries to reason with the madman Archbug. Rachel is like, Rachel's a piece of work. And I guess it's because she's a Quaker. She has her own strong beliefs, but she also, which is to her credit, she tries to believe the best in others. Girlfriend, I know you're.
To be fair, she doesn't know. Well, she also doesn't realize Archbug.
Oh, fair.
Because we had several books to discover him being a dick, whereas this was just kind of
Surprise dick.
yeah. Nobody likes surprise dick.
We both
Get consent.
cocked our heads at the same time. Like, wait, does that a surprise dick? Okay.
That's like a unsolicited dick pic. Nobody asked for it.
No, but that's a lot worse to me than an unsolicited. What did I say? Not unsolicited.
Surprise dick.
Surprise dick in the form of a book character is a lot better than any picture anyone sends you unsolicited. Come on now.
I mean, one can kill you and one can be mildly offensive.
In fiction land, we're not going into the pages. They're not going to kill us.
I bet you Rachel would have preferred to get a drawing of a dick than having
But I'm not
him
talking
try
about Rachel.
to
I'm
axe
talking about
her.
you and I as readers and watchers.
Fine.
Would you rather come across a surprise dick in a TV show or in a book than an actual surprise DP on your phone? The book any day, any fashion.
I'll take imaginary dick for 500, Alex.
Thank you. Rachel is like, she's trying to reason. I wrote, ha, 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 ha. And then in walks Ian. She tells him, don't kill him, Ian.
His, like...
Summer's face. You're getting up there like a praise music right now. Eyes closed, mic to the face, hand up in prayer.
The thing of it is that he just went on and on about how I'm not going to kill him. I'm going to kill you and make him watch. And then the second Ian shows up, he's like, never mind, I'll kill him. He literally throws Rachel away and starts going after Ian. So I was like, you didn't really commit to your plan all the way. But again, super quickly resolved. Now, to be fair, it was rather quickly resolved. It was rather quickly resolved in the books too.
My word.
So I guess in that regard.
So Bug goes on and on about with his recent resume. Bug, who gives a boo? Ian rushes him, gets stabbed. Willie finally decides to join.
That was not a stabbing. He got axed.
He got axe stabbed.
He got hacked at with a hacksaw.
And then he put his finger in it. He like fingered the wound. That's disgusting and painful.
And I'm just thinking,
ew,
infection. They don't wash their hands.
Oh, I thought you meant Archbug. I'm like, no, because Archbug's about to die. Who gives a poop about him? You mean Ian? Yeah, that's gross. You don't know Archbug probably hasn't washed his hands since the ridge.
That's what I'm saying. And who knows how many animals he's killed and eaten.
Willie finally decides to join in and shoots Bug just in time. So yeah, this is basically the scene in the books. Who does what and who kills whom is exactly from the books.
Yes.
Different location, setting, etc. Who really cares? It was in the book. It was not a complaint, but noticing it. And that, you know how I fill in things or whatever that maybe no one asked for. In the book, the same exact characters do the same things.
You just need a shirt that just says that. I'm going to fill in things that no one asked for. I'll get on that.
You can have it made, girlfriend. They'll make anything for you. Actually, it should be another Outlander podcast.
I see the backstory you requested, and I will raise you all of the shit you didn't care about.
Y'all, if you want these, we can make t-shirts happen. If you guys like this, let us know. In the books, it was at the print shop where Fergus and Marsley were with all their kidlets. But yeah, we don't even have mention of Fergus and Marsley. Fergley.
Firstly.
Murgus? I think Firstly is better. Farsley's better than Fergley.
Marsklis.
No, stop.
Marcus.
Back in some house, because I give up. Rachel and Ian are having a tete-a-tete. Ian confirms that yes, Bug was after her the whole
They're
time.
back at Mercy Woodcock's house because they're sitting on that uncomfortable looking bench chair.
So is the other place. That's why I said a house. I give up. I don't care.
Yeah, they're at Mercy Woodcock's.
It's a house. That's all I'm going to say.
Fine.
Bug was after you the whole time. But I told you. Not.
So that's what you meant.
I told you I loved you, but not in English, bro.
Yeah, for real.
Finally, he says it in English. He gives his love chat. Okay, he gives her his love chat, whatever, and says he wants to be with her in a lot more words than that.
And then he says, I would be a Quaker.
And she's
if
like,
you wanted me to.
I love you, but no.
But I know that I wouldn't mean it.
Yeah.
And I never would mean it.
She's like, I can handle non-Quaker D. I can't handle liar D.
Well, it's not just that, but she says, no, you're like your wolf. You know he's a wolf, but he also stays with you and you love him and does all those things.
I can't handle liar D. I can only handle truthful, non-lying, stick with me D.
Didn't have anything. It didn't have anything to do with any of that. It wasn't even about
D
that.
meaning a boy.
No, I
Summer.
know. All she was saying is that I don't need you to change anything. I love you the way you are. Let's make it work. You're just like a wolf. You've always been Wolf's brother, and so we will continue with that.
That's true. That's a pretty cute play on his Mohawk name, which they also haven't brought up in Dog's episode. Where's our baby girl? Cut to Bertram's garden. Claire is doing some legit gardening for herbs and healing, etc. Unsuspected.
But very inconvenient.
Just a little.
Convenient to the plot, so we know there's a place she goes and gathers herbs that you can't readily get in the city. But inconvenient for the plot because she just went there. And she's,
No, this is her first time there.
I know. But the whole point is that she goes there and then goes home and runs into Mercy and then goes.
Yeah, but that's later. Hasn't happened yet.
I know. It's coming. But then she has to go right back out the next day.
The timing is not wonderful. Some house, after her trip to the garden, there's a letter for Claire from Jamie. It says, it communicates that Ian has died and I am headed to you soon on a ship called the Euterpe after I take Joan to Who's or What's It. Flash backward sideways to Scotland 1739. They totally, okay, whatever. This is probably where I'll go off a little bit. Like I haven't gone off yet. They totally reused Claire's line for Dougal. Remember in episode 1 of Outlander, season 1, Claire says to Frank, after he's come in, that lightning storm or whatever, and she goes, you look as though you've seen a ghost. Identical verbatim line. Instead of Frank's answer, I'm not as sure that I haven't. Or as I haven't. Dougal pulls out these World War II dog tags. Though it might belong to the ferryman who was seen about. Well, he thought it might belong to the ferryman who was seen about. Roger says he's never seen it. That is true. Hi, Casey. But it has his son's name on it, and that is true as well, although it's not his son's. What he does not share, of course, with anybody but Buck Livy later, is that it's also his father's name. We'll get to that in a second. So he's never seen it, but it has his son's name on it.
But then even Buck was like, surely there are lots of Mackenzies in fighting in the war effort, which is going back to me saying there's a lot of people named.
Yes, Rob Cameron. Yeah. Is she? I can't see the number. Is she in the window?
No,
Bria?
she's not anything right now.
Okay, so this is where Galis and TT kind of come back to play again, okay? So Dougal pulls these out and he doesn't say what they are. He just says, we thought these might belong to the ferryman because they're funky looking. A charm. Yes, he calls them a charm. Now that, even though they're both talking, there's a lot of subtext. Unfortunately, we get Roger's subtext through his VO, which is dumb. But we don't get Galis's subtext. But you can read between the lines or choose not to believe that she has any subtext there. In the previous scene with these guys where Roger says to her, you know, this is my son's name. And, you know, and he kind of approaches her like I'm going to get you on this. Like almost like he's like a predator. He's like, would you know a Rob Cameron? You know what I mean? He goes in like...
Of course he does. He doesn't trust this woman.
But she doesn't know that he knows she's a TT. That's the point, right? Okay. So that was the last scene.
This is an episode of Friends. So he doesn't know that we know that he knows that we know.
So here, after Dougal has says, we have these things that we think may belong to he doesn't say son. We think may belong to the ferryman, and they have your son's name on them. And he uses the word charm, right? Gilas perks up at this. The ferryman, who's being talked about by a third person, a stranger. She's never met Dougal till now. We're meant to believe this is their meeting. Their meet cute, ish. So a third person has mentioned ferryman minimally to her or around her. And now there's a charm involved. She knows very well. She may not know about Roger and Bucklevy, but she knows very well because she is a TT. She knows that the term ferry whatever is a common use or a common term for a description of people who may not be of that time. Thus, again, subtext, TT. At this, Galis perks up and goes to take a look at the charm that Duncan is holding out. But Roger, whether this was his intent or not, smartly, thank God, takes them. This shows Gilas is beginning to be a little more curious about stuff. Now, this is not a plot development. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying this goes anywhere. In this episode, it doesn't. But think, baby Jujubee, that Roger grabbed those charms before Galis could get her mitts on them to have a peek. Because what would Galis know? Galis is from the freaking 20th century. She freaking knows about World War II and RAF. All the conversation they have is after Galis and Dougal have gone to knock boots or check out her wares, right? Which comes up. But she never sees the things that were charms, ever. Thank God. Because you don't want to leave that open to potential interpretation. That's all I'm saying. What's your face for?
My face is for the fact that he won them in a poker match and then just let Roger have them.
Well, no, Roger asked for them. But yes.
I know, but
maybe he's hoping to get them back. Who knows? But yeah.
Because he didn't win them in the poker match.
Yeah, and he wasn't doing
with the intent to give them away as part of a reconnaissance against
If you go back and watch, you'll see that Galis perks up and goes toward Dougal or the group of people. She's in the background. And Roger picks it up and says, thank you, and then stuffs it away. She never gets a chance to look at it. But, she already has some wonderings about Roger. I mean, attraction to, obviously. She tried to seduce him. But it's not just, I'm going to seduce you. No. She uses her seductions for her gain, not just her jollies, right? Matter of fact, she could fake her. I'm sure she faked her jollies with her later with her Duncan husband.
That is her husband that she's married to right now.
That's what I'm saying. I corrected myself.
How do you think she got married to him?
She faked her jujus.
That's the whole place she goes.
So she already has her wonderings about Roger, and now the mention of ferryman for like the third time from the third person. She knows very well what that means for this time, especially since Roger called her one basically to her face. We have said many times that Roger is not always smart. And she's interested in those charms. If Galis had had a chance to see them, the charms, she would have totally known or had a high percentage likelihood of guessing that Roger was from her time or thereabouts. That is too dangerous. But yeah, production doesn't honor storylines much, especially when they do a whack job of a book storyline and chop it up and glue it back together with hopes and paper mache glue. But at least here they caught it before she got a chance to look at it, because that would have introduced too much danger. Roger then says, may I keep it? He wants to find the tinker who'd found it. Wonder who they'll have play the tinker. So this apparently is where Duncan first meets Galis. That's pretty cool. He wants her to show him her wares. So they go off and do the deed, do the do. Now, this is one time, again, not pissed off, disappointed because it's my favorite actor in the show. In the books, it isn't Dougal who offers him this prize. It's a younger Captain Jonathan Randall. I hoped so hard that they'd somehow bring him back as a huge surprise for watchers and readers, but, well, maybe he wasn't available or they just didn't want to do it that way. I guess it consolidates things. In the books, Roger goes to Lallybroch after he splits from Bucklavy. He meets Brian Fraser at Lallybroch, and then he goes to the town Geillis is in. I may have the order out of sync. Goes to the town Geillis is in, though they don't initially go to her for treatment. They find another TT who is an actual doctor. They find out later on from the 19th century. It's a long story. I forget his name even. And then Brian Fraser comes and finds him, not Dougal, and tells him that there's been talk of a ferryman and something's been found. So you have to go pick it up at this military place to check it out. And when they get to that, I forget, where's the place that Jonathan Randall is like captain of, that garrison commander, that place? What is that garrison called? Whatever that, I think is no, not a prison yet, just the garrison, whatever that was. That's where he was. And this is a few years, this is not too long, like 5 years before, 4-ish years before the events of Outlander. And they go there, and in they walk, and they come face to face with the younger Captain Jonathan Randall. And it's him, he did not find them, but it's him that has the World War II dog tags. So to do away with needing Tobias, which makes me very sad, and the 19th century doctor, and yet another 1 or 2 filming locations, they just have the dudes go to see Geillis in Wienertown, and Dougal comes to the place he's already going to be at, or will soon go to Bofferton, and have him be the one to bring the dog tags. Phew, that was a lot.
Okay. Did you just say Wienertown?
And Bofferton.
I heard Bofferton.
I did say both. Good earball. After they skedaddle, Roger tells Bucklavy it's not a charm, it's a World War II dog tag.
I think to be honest, they have to be very careful which characters they choose to introduce or reintroduce at this point.
Because they mess it up so much.
Well,
or consistency's problem.
While all of these statements may be true, I think the larger thing is that when you introduce new plots and you've known that you've given yourself 1 more season to wrap this whole thing up, when you know that
they are wrapping it up
books
in this season, because at this point when it was written, they didn't know they had another season.
Either way, my point is they have to be very careful introducing new plots before you've resolved other plots, because we aren't going to have 7 more seasons to resolve
get those done.
To resolve the Frenchman's Gold that they brought up 1 episode before the end of another season.
Let's not get started.
That's hyperbolic, and that's not true.
It's not really hyperbolic, Summer. It's just truth. After they skedaddle, Roger tells Bucklavy it's not a charm, it's World War II dog tags, and he realizes that it's from his father, and that's how/why they're pulled into 1739. If you're not a book reader and you're sure, our episode was probably going to come out late. You've heard
Wrong,
people talk about
Jeremiah.
it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He flew RAF and disappeared in the middle of the war. They never found his body, and he had the perfect clothing to be described as a ferryman.
But think about it. What if it was also Buck's fault for thinking he wanted to be back with his family
in 1739?
And they brought him to see where his bio parents are, as opposed to the family he created.
Oh, yeah, that's such a good point.
So it could have been anything.
I'll put it this way. Let's say we were not in a time with Buck's parents, let's just say. But we were in the time for Roger's dicking around.
Yes.
Okay? Dog tags. The question is, if they're coming together or thinking together, or the gates are listening, who knows how it works, right? We know ish kind of how it works. We know some of the steering things because we read all the books and listened to what Diana has had to say. But even the books don't give us not everything is out. But everything that we do know that's out, we kind of understand. Where your thoughts, the direction your thoughts lie in or are pointed to, whom you think about, where you think about, can affect direction and time a lot. We know this. And you're right. And that's why it makes perfect sense for Roger to be there, because his dad, all that, right? Without anybody there. Are you okay? Without anybody there, meaning without anybody in 1739 in Scotland where they ended up, if there were no Duncan, I'm making this up. Dougal. There were no Dougal and there were no Galis right at that time. They still could have ended up there, potentially, if they went together. The fact that, you're right, Sam, the fact that Galis is there and Dougal is there, and that is where they meet. And ultimately, it's not when he's made about 4 or 5 years later, but it's where he is made eventually. But you glom onto the fact, or you add into the directionality of Roger's thoughts, if Buck is thinking family, it's not wrong, like you said. And so I'm curious, we'll never know because everyone is there together. It's all mixed up. I never thought about that. Holy shit balls. I haven't thought about that in however long I've read the books. That's a very good thought. I do wonder if Buck's people were not there, where they would have gone. But I think that he is thinking family, even though he's not thinking of his parents' parents. I do think that the Stones, you have the absolute directional. Well, no, they're both effed off. He's thinking family, and then he ends up with kind of his family, but not family he's thinking of. And Roger ends up with family that he's not thinking of.
Look, bitch, they were meeting in the middle. The Stones were meeting in the middle, man.
No, the Stones gave them exactly what they wanted. They both said family, and the only way to consolidate them both is that time and place. Motherfucker, you're right. Shit. This is brilliant, girlfriend.
I don't think it's brilliant. I think it's just...
No, I never thought about the Stones consolidating and taking like, okay, what's the heavier weight? Where do we go? Bitch, I never thought about that because Roger sure as hell. I wonder if Diana's ever been asked that question. Roger surely was not thinking about his father. He was thinking about his son, which would never have ended up in 1739. That's dumb. Bucklevy was never thinking about 1739 or his parents were. He never knew that. He never knew of them. And I don't think has he been told yet that he's the son of who's or what's it? Not introduced to them yet, but has he been told the fact before they moved?
I don't know. But the thing is I believe...
You're blowing my brain.
I believe that going back up until this point, every time Brianna and Roger and Claire...
Except for the first time. Well,
no,
Claire didn't do it on purpose that time.
No, but that's not where I'm going. Is that they have always... Time for them has always run parallel, starting from Claire's first journey. So the time has always run parallel for them. They have never experienced rogue jumping. So this is the first time that
Did you call it rogue jumping?
Yeah. They haven't gone rogue before. This was
the Stones gone rogue. My goodness, this is like, damn. Someone needs to write like a treatise on the Stones, like not just how they work and what we know, like the jewels and the this and the thoughts and the who's.
Well, Diana Gabaldon wrote like 10 books about them. Ginger.
No, about like the personality of the Stones and how they freaking work. Because I never thought about the whole thing about directionality and who out trumps who and all that, whatever. But now that, of course, they ended up in 1739. Oh,
even Galis did everything that she thought she needed to do, and she didn't end up where she wanted to go.
That's a question that we don't know what answer to. How did she? Why? How? We're not going to visit that right now. But given everything you've just said, besides the timing, 2 or 3 years, and that was your point was the timing. So yes, that's a surprise for him. What we haven't done, and we could do maybe in a different chat, offline, online, whatever, is okay, for all the trips that we know of with our characters, I'm not talking about Mr. Raymond or whoever was called Raymond and the Montauk Six. I'm not talking about them, like those, because they went hella back too. Like, who knows? Who knows what they did to influence that? I have no idea. I'm just talking about the people, the main characters that we know and love, okay? That would be interesting to sit down and say, okay, starting with Claire and Outlander, who went back accidentally or on purpose, how far they went back? We know the when. We know the where for now. The where is always the same place. But the when is consistent until it's not. And then if we line that up with what were they thinking or not, like Claire didn't think, I mean, she thought, but she didn't know that there was any influence, anything. She didn't know these things existed. That would be an interesting like table to set up and see where they end. Once they know the time frame of 2 or 3 years, when things like going rogue happens, like this one for Roger and Bucklevy, are there anything that any circumstances or thoughts, whatever, for driving that could trump the norm / equate what both of them were thinking? Because this time, this is my fourth time I've said it now. Summer is 100% correct, I believe. I can't believe it took me 20 freaking more years to see ever. I never noticed this. In this case, and this is which makes me want to go back and look at all the cases, which we're not going to do now. In this case, 100%, there's no other place I believe the Stones could have sent them ever. Because when they're both thinking about family, now, yes, I'm sure we know they're thinking about family, but not the family that they got in that time where they landed. Okay, so the Stones have to be omniscient of some kind. I don't know how to say that.
It reminds me of like a genie where they always kind of give you what you wish for, but they find loophole.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. I don't even think this is a loophole. I think this is literally the only time and place that the Stones could have spit them out and answered both of their questions. Yes, it wasn't the family they asked for, but it was but it was true family, blood family. It just wasn't. And in both cases, it was family they didn't know existed or existed in that time anyway. Oh my God, somebody, you're rocking my world.
They're just looking, for something missing.
Y'all, this episode is going to be effing
They're missing
long.
family members. And
yeah.
And
because his dad was literally missing. I don't know that, but I guess he's adopted, so I guess his parents are missing. All I'm saying is, we need to make a table. Somebody do it. Well, I'm happy to do it, but not
like an actual table. Are you a woodworker?
Summer,
I am
no,
not.
like an Excel sheet. Get off here. No. I could ask our dad to make it. Are you okay? I could ask our dad to make a table, and then I could do an Excel sheet on top of it.
It's fine.
It would be kind of neat.
It would be a table on a table. It feels like overkill. It's like a hat on a hat.
Philadelphia, Chestnut Street, or wherever. No, this is not. This is Mercy's place. Mercy Woodcock is being secretive, and Claire gets out of her that yes, she's a rebel, and Mercy is too. Yes. She's been a spy/courier working with the Continentals. She takes letters out of the city to the same place over and over again. Her contact, however, she's learned, has been caught. But she needs someone to take this letter, and she believes she herself has been compromised very recently. And Claire volunteers. She's like, hey, I know they don't look at people, a lot of older women anyway. She doesn't look at them a little, but you know what I mean? Sure, lady. And yes, it is, because she finally uses the word, it is Bertram's garden. So she takes it, and she gets a little side eye by the people who let her through. Finally, they're like, out foraging again so soon, because it was just the day before.
Because most people don't go foraging every day, especially if they're having to go out of the city to get it. But yeah, it was just bad timing all around.
Yes.
But to be fair, this was a larger plot point in the book that was resolved in one attempt at a spy.
Well, and that's the thing, is we don't know if it was one attempt or several, and they only showed us one. Maybe.
But it didn't seem like enough time passed for them to have been like, she's been doing this a lot.
I agree. If they're this is the difference between basically any other VO, which is predominantly Claire, versus what Rogers has become, because Rogers did not begin like this, the way it is. This would have been,
I began secreting letters out of the occupied territory into a place where the carrier could pick it up.
They could have shown her doing one and had a VO for that represented several. Doesn't matter.
This became my daily walk into the fort. Whatever. I'm just saying.
But yes, they're like, why are you going? You're going out so soon again. She's like, yeah, I have to always have things on hand for healing, because this and that. But she's like, for female, female issues.
No, of course they bring up explosive diarrhea, because they're like, I'll bring up something gross that nobody else wants to talk about.
Like female issues, mention of explosive bowels will get you out of many a conversation or job. At least women have two options, thankfully, until you get to a certain age, I guess. She is successful in dropping off the message.
At least as far as we know. But
if this is her only time, she's not successful.
Right, I know. But I feel like it would have played better if they'd had them let her through. They had her go and put the thing in the hole, and they just had something in the background notice her do it. And then that would have been all that we needed to prove that dude knows somebody saw it, dude has proof, and she's doing spy shit. Because it would have been suspect. The fact that he questioned her at the border guard and being like, you're going again?
Yeah, they're already... Yeah.
Why would you... they're already suspicious. So it's like, why not just see it through?
Back at some place, because I give up, as I said, there's a visitor with Lord John, and they're waiting for Claire. He drops the bomb of all bombs. The Euterpe has gone down. The other guest is an eyewitness. He was a captain,
on another ship. Yeah.
Who saw it go down and was also, I don't know if he was part of the.
He says he stayed there for 2 hours looking for survivors.
No, it was like 12 hours or more. Or a day or two.
Who knows? He stayed looking for survivors. I took that away.
Jamie is dead. Later on, Lord John receives a visit and finds out that Claire was about to be arrested as a spy. Yes, there's proof.
But that's the thing. The way that they
it was so fast, Summer.
That's what I'm saying. The way that they showed it gave the impression that she dropped off her spy paraphernalia, went straight to Lord John's house, met with the guy, and Jamie's dead. Do you know what she did after that? She went to bed. And she didn't come back out. According to how the show has portrayed it, she did one spy job, found out Jamie was dead, and took to her bed and didn't come back out.
Do you know what would have solved all of this? Even more than another trip or a camera or a VO? Fucking date and timestamps. I'm telling you, they could help us and themselves by doing it, but they do dick.
No.
They do crap all.
No, they could have.
I love the show, but they could do that.
Correct. But the point is that from the moment she goes in, she goes to the room and she doesn't leave the room because he has to let himself into the room to go in there and tell her, get up, get dressed, bitch. We're going to get married.
Yeah, because she's wallowing in her sadness. So the guy has only come to Lord John to make sure there's no like connection to him being
right.
super, super friendly with her. And because he's a friend. And Lord John feigns shock. I mean, he is shocked about this thing.
Know.
That's not fake. But he feigns shock about him. He feigns shock to him thinking that she's his friend. He's like, oh, no, she's not my friend. She's helped my family, but she's a rebel. Da, 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 da. He says, she's at church. That is the biggest fucking lot of bullshit that anyone could ever say about Claire.
The only time we ever have any images of Claire at church is at the monastery when she stayed up overnight with
the sister.
No, not the sister. No,
the mother.
I'm talking.
Abbess.
I wasn't even thinking about that. I was going
You're not
deeper.
thinking of Paris?
It's with Brother Absalom or whatever his name was.
When Jamie's repairing.
When she stayed up with the communion or with the body of Christ all night.
But did they? Oh, they did the show. They did do it. Okay. Back when they kind of halfway cared, or didn't rush as much.
You know, season 1
and 2.
Season 1 was.
But that wasn't season 1, was it? Oh, it was the end of 1.
It should have been the end of 1.
End of 1 or early 2. I don't know. I think you're right. It was connected to him being whatever. Yes. Then Lord John, as soon as the guy leaves, runs up the stairs to drop another bomb. Almost as bad as the first one. Actually, less bad in the show than it is in the book. By not having Ferguson, Marsley, and Philly and all their grandkids, there are a few, but not as many, few people who would really be affected by Claire's being arrested and hanged as a spy. Maybe Ian, as I say, and then thus, even though they're not connected.
And the Denzels,
connected, yes, Denzel and Rachel.
The Hunters, that's what it was.
The Hunters. And maybe tangentially, as I said, Rachel and Denzel, but otherwise, it is effective enough, and it gets us to the point where we need to be. Her desperate to not have her choices put her loved ones in jeopardy.
Yeah, because she's like, I don't care. If he's dead,
kill me, bitch. What do I care?
Exactly.
She tells Lord John, yes. Oh, did I miss that part? I think I missed that part. He says, you got to marry me. And she's like, excuse me? She tells Lord John, yes, I'll marry you. And he says, it's the last thing I can do for Jamie, a service for Jamie. I can protect his wife. They won't touch you. I'll protect you and thereby protect the rest of these people whom you love and you have a connection to, because they will then have a connection to me. He has to remind her that, as we already said, that they will seek. And he's like, they're going to look for them? And he's like, yes, bitch. Yes, bitch. They would take them too. This is effing war.
I'm like, think bigger picture, Claire. Like, for
think
real.
outside of you, which I get. I will defend her. That's fine. I'm not upset with Claire. She is very focused on her grief, which she should be. I get it.
Hey, there was a montage. There was a montage of all the times.
That's why they didn't want to do Jenny, because they didn't want to. There was not much of a montage they could have done with Jenny.
That's the other thing. That's what I'm saying. I said
all about the J and the D.
Don't point at your crotch when you do that, because you don't have a D.
Set up for the scene I've honestly been looking forward to ever since we knew that we would get a book 8 adaptation ish. The coupling we're all looking forward to.
The drunken coupling.
Oh.
Does she do that on all of her wedding nights? Just get shit faced and have sex with her husbands?
Okay, I'm gonna take that part out because that I didn't go that far. I did say coupling,
and that was episode 710. Join us next week when we will be discussing the convenience store episode of Outlander. Episode 711, entitled 100 Weight of Stones.
There is a chapter or a section in, it must be Moby, called 100 Weight of Stones. And maybe it's in a different book too. But that actually sounds familiar to me. So I'll have to go back in I won't go look in the book.
You want to hear the
preview?
Plot?
Sure.
It says, Claire turns to John Gray for comfort as they process difficult news. Ian and Rachel discuss their love and their future. And Brianna confronts an intruder at Lallybroch.
I'm telling you, all of the stuff that you want to know, even though I know they're setting up for the first thing you said to be the big thing, and it is. The thing I'm most looking forward to about everything you said is the Brianna part. I'm telling you, whatever the show, okay, I will say, I am open. I am so legs wide open. I shouldn't say that. I am open to being, not to say wrong, but being surprised and blown away. If it can be done, it can be done, I guess. They can do a fantabulous job with this, with whatever they are going to show us. However, for me, it is a super high bar to blow this out of the water. In that, out of all the excitement and all the schnoodling and whatever, of all of the first 8 books anyway, the part in early Moby's, look, when that's going to happen, that they're alluding to with Brianna, who has an intruder at Lallybroch, that part... To this day, I probably read it 20-something times. To this day, that part with Brianna alone and her kid, or her kid, and being at Lallybroch, trying to protect that kid, with the shenanigans that happen, with the intruder that they're referring to, that is not scaring me like I can't watch it. I can't listen to it at home in the dark. No, of course I can. My point is, I know what's going to happen. It still freaking freaks me out. And one of the things that a lot of people don't know, or if they haven't read the books or don't know a lot about Diana, is one of the things she started out with and really liked early days before she started Outlander was she likes to write a lot of mystery stuff. And of course, the Lord John books are all a lot of mystery. I think, my humble opinion, she's very good at it. I mean, I like her books anyway, but I love it when she does mystery suspense. I guess suspense is more of the word. Because it's not really a mystery, it's suspense. Because none of the people's identities are kept from us in the scene that they just alluded to. Holy schmackadopolis. I hope they knock my Sokolocks off because I am giving them, I don't say benefit of the doubt. I hope they knock my socks off. For me personally, I'm not saying for anybody else. For me, it's a very high bar is it adaptation? It's not copy paste. I get it. It actually should be more exciting because it is visual. I don't know. So if you're a book reader, you know what I'm going to say because I don't want to give too much away other than what Summer already read, which is from the show. It's a fair preview-ish in words. Whew. I hope they knock my socks off for that Bria intruder scene or scenes because that to me, from the first 8 books, all 8 books, is the most suspenseful, exciting sequence in everything.
The problem is
now she's going to dope and dump on me.
I am going to dump on you.
Summer.
Because that is, again, another giant plot to introduce at this stage.
They've already introduced the plot. What are you talking about?
No, they haven't introduced the fact that because here's the thing.
I'm just talking about the dude coming in.
I know. The people they introduce at the end of this book are the people that follow them back and do a whole nother plot. There's a whole new plot that enters everything in book 9.
And that goes back to what I was saying is that if they were writing this as if this was potentially wrapping up the show, then they probably tied it off with a bow. Because I don't know. We're going to have to find out. We'll see we'll find out together, dear listener.
We'll just see.
Anyway, I hope, and you know what? It may have been alluded to, and I'm not going to say what this is. It would be a spoiler if I said what it was. They haven't done anything with any letter yet. They may have mentioned something or a book, but there's been no finding of the thing in the thing, right?
No, but they had a box of letters.
That's from Jamie and Claire.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a different letter that was hidden somewhere.
If we haven't assuaged your thirst for speaking Outlander, please join us at www.outlanderpod.com/group to continue the conversation. And if you're interested in any Outlander pod branded gear, please visit our shop at www.outlanderpod.com/shop.
And I forget what Summer had, the exact words Summer mentioned, which made me laugh. But if you would like us to make more shirts that say what she said about how I'll give you more than you ever asked for, as far as like words or whatever that was.
Guess what? You
Let us
recorded
know. I know.
You'll be able to hear it again.
I don't know when I'll be able to edit it though. Anyway, but the time
You
is
will
up.
edit it before they hear it, so
That
you're
is
golden.
true. But anyway, my point still remains. If you like that, or the idea of having a shirt that's something like that, like, yeah, like, I don't know. I know people already have like say Outlander to me. We can't use the word Outlander, I don't think, but something along the lines of whatever, something along the lines of what we talked about earlier. Just let us know. We're always open to suggestions as far as adding more like t-shirts, whatever. Thank you as always so much for listening. Oh, thanks again to this episode's producer, co-producer. And if you want to find out more about what a co-producer is, maybe how to become one, what that means, visit us at outlanderpod.com/Patreon. Thank you again so much for listening. We look forward to our next episode.
I dreamt it last night that my